Hi, my name is Shacham Shavit. I'm head of R&D at Lemonade. I'm very excited to be here. You've been in tech conferences before, so you know it's a great place to learn new things and meet people from the industry. Most of the talks are usually about two things, either extremely deep technologies or 200,000 feet of vision and managerial stuff. But what about everything in between? What about everyone in between? This session is not going to talk about either one of them. I'm sure that there are many excellent technical people at the audience with extremely good coding understanding and experience with system architecture that would like to understand how to take their career to the next level. So this session is especially for you. It should help you understand not only how to scale your system, but how to scale your team to support the company needs. Okay. So I started my career almost 20 years ago. Worked in many companies, some of which do not exist anymore. I worked for many years in a company called LivePerson. Started when there were 60 people and left when there was 900. I then moved to a company called AppsFlyer as the 10th person in the company. Yeah, as the 10th person in the company, built the entire R&D team and left after 3.5 years when we had 70 people in the team and a system that scaled from handling 200 million events per day to 20 billion events per day. I joined Lemonade a little more than a year ago to take part in a company that is changing the insurance industry. And this is the first time for me to work in a B2C company. And I learned from the inside that different companies has different scaling challenges. So for many years, developers were responsible to write code, test it, and create an artifact that the operation team would deploy to the production. And the operation team were responsible for the system itself. Developers were working on product that the product team were planning and tested together with the QA, and the operation team were responsible to make sure that the system is up and running, that it's scalable, stable, and resilient. It was mostly optimized for the day-to-day work and enable the dev team to focus on product delivery and the operation team to focus on the system. But, and this is a big but, you can't really have stable, scalable, resilient system if you don't plan for it. And operation knowledge is not enough to solve production issues, and a good understanding of the business and the code is also required. So this dev operation model was far from being optimal, and the movement toward working together started. And then in 2009, the term DevOps was coined, and the first DevOps Days held. And we even have Stephen here with us today that is one of the core founders. I'm sure you're all familiar with the DevOps concept, and different companies has different implementation. But what's definitely is shared between everyone is the work together. Well, let's spend some time to understand what's the impact for the business. Why is it good for the business? So when we had two different disciplines, the business could get answers like, yeah, it will take 2 days to fix this bug or to create this new functionality that your client needs, but we can deploy to production in the next release in 6 months, or we'll need 6 weeks of QA cycle before we can deploy to production. It's obvious that the DevOps model not only makes us better developers, but also is good for the business. It's enable faster time to market, lower failure rate, and faster mean time to recovery. Let's see how taking DevOps concept into the organization, the entire organization, can help us. So, what do you think when I say scale? So when I say scale, like, what's the first thing that is pop up into your mind? Headache. What? More. Yeah, greater numbers. So yeah, most of the technical people will think about additional traffic, about distributed system, about more events. That's the first thing that will pop up into your mind. My purpose here is to share and show different type of scaling and the challenges in each type of scale and how you as senior engineer can help your company to tackle it. So I had my share of scale during the year. It's a lot of fun to work in fast-growing company and take part of its scaling. But sometimes I can look back and understand that we didn't do the optimal thing for this scale type. It happened to me more than once, and I am proud of my mistakes because it helped me learn and grow. Let me share a few. So, like many startups, LivePerson start with a monolith. It was Java-based web application that served the visitors, the chats, the operators, everything. As the team grew, we start experiencing quality problems, and then around 2012, we decided to collect all the unit tests together with some integration tests and put it as part of the build. So the build will compile the classes, do additional steps, and then run the test before it declares about failure or success. So it was a great idea that enabled us to see not only that the code compilation went well, but also that we didn't put new bugs into production. Well, yeah, it was a great idea, but the only thing that ruined the party is that instead of it now took 30 minutes. So instead of taking 10 minutes for the compilation, we added additional 20 minutes. And before every bug fix was deployed to the testing environment. So it was a great idea, but we added even more time to the already too long build process. Let's see another one. So in AppsFlyer, we had real-time reports from the very first day. It was one of the more important business offers, and marketing people would buy the service to analyze campaign as they go. We had a system that was built when we just had a few small clients that used MongoDB in non-optimal way, but by increasing counters. It was fine, and then we got more and more clients and more traffic and more huge clients, and then it didn't hold the traffic very well, and actually started to fail every few weeks. We added more compute power and splitted the cluster and did some more hacks that actually bought us some air until one day, two of our largest clients could not actually fetch data for last week and could only see today's data. That was the time I realized we should have planned the next generation in time. And this is a scaling mistake for my house. So you can see my ceiling. This is how my ceiling looks like after 3 days of non-stopping rain 10 days ago. So my roof was fine for many years and could hold for too many winters and could hold the rain and everything was fine. But it got older and eventually it just couldn't keep up with the non-stop rain. And we found ourselves putting balls under the ceiling and just wiping the floor from rainwater at 3 a.m. Saturday night. So it turns out you can also have production problems at home. So let's see what are the different scale types. I think you can divide them into 3 categories. It would be traffic, team, and territory. Let's deep dive into each one of them, see the specific technical challenges and how you as leading technology can help your company tackle them. So we'll start with the first one. That's the most known one. It's traffic scale. It's very easy to identify the traffic scale. You will see growing number of events, growing number of visitors, growing number of registered clients, and more. The technical challenges can be different. So you might see services that are just can't serve anymore, or degradation in the performance DB, or additional 500 response from DLBs and more. It's absolutely necessary for you to be able to handle the visitors when they are coming, so they will still get response. So auto-scaling is definitely mandatory, as well as elastic DB, real-time DB, sorry. Offline processes, from the other hand, can wait. So they can catch up when the peak goes down. That's fine. And as much as I hate to say it, you might also leave service refactor aside, because you might anyway need to already write services from scratch or redesign the entire system very soon. As for the team, well, you will probably need more team members, because you will need to invest substantial amount of team members to scale the infrastructure. But if you consider using automation, then you might be able to bring less people to the table. So this is the time to think about automation. This is the time to think about also scaling. This is the time to think DevOps and create good automatic toolings. Second one is team scaling. So this is something that is obvious, but in some cases, companies tend to ignore the impact of scaling the team for the technology side. I also see technical people tend to ignore that scaling as well and think about it more as a managerial problem. This is not true. If you see yourself as part of the R&D leadership, then you must take part of this scaling. You definitely want to join and take part of how your team handle it. Let's see some of the challenges inside the scaling type. So the first one will be more different functions that are joined to the team. For example, I tend to hire more generalists as the first team members, and then more specialists when the team grow. Or you might get full team of developers before you start hiring QA people. These are different people with different requirements, then they might need different dev tools. The second one is manual processes. So it might be okay to do some manual tweaking in the database when it was in the production database when it was just you. But when you get 4 people that are working with you, you should automate this process. It's not good anymore. The system itself. So for the system, this is a major one. The system was working well for you, and it was serving you, and you could get developers working on the system. But you get more and more hands right now working on the same system, and that's something that you definitely need to consider. So some companies tend to use the same code base for everyone and the same system for everyone, and force engineering quality by having more tests, code reviews, and things like that. Some companies tend to split a big service to sub-services, so each team can get responsibility for sub-service. I usually tend to split services, but the first approach was taken by some of the largest companies in the world and is working perfectly well for them, so it's definitely valid. And the last thing that I think you should take care of is the knowledge. Knowledge and knowledge sharing. I think investing in first good training definitely pays itself off. In Lemonade, we have 3 months of bootcamp for new employees when they are writing code in different parts of the system, moving from team to team, and learn the Lemonade way to work with the product. Also, peer code review is something that I think it will help the knowledge sharing, and try to avoid too complicated best practices and either spend the time to write script or very good instructions like the first computer installation. The third T will be for territories. In some cases, the company starts from one location and then expanding to another location. when it's more than just sales and organizational challenge, it might be also technical challenge. Let's take Lemonade, for example. We started in the US and are expanding now for Europe. We started having discussions like data consideration and production location, and that means it's also technical challenge, not just organizational challenge. So let's see our challenges over there. So the first one is like I'm sure you all know, is the GDPR. In US, there is no any GDPR related stuff. The second one will be languages and culture. So we are using chatbot as a service, as customer service, and our English version is not valid anymore when we move to Europe. And the last one will be additional product lines, because for a company like us that handle insurance, then moving to different location means totally different product line. And it also opened a discussion whether or not we need a different data center in different location and sync between both locations. Let's deep dive to the data center location for a minute, because it's an important one. It's used to be performance issue, and it might still be the case if your product is very, very sensitive to performance. But in most cases, it's usually coming from different stuff. It's either your specific client's needs or some regulatory consideration. In most cases, the legal team can find reasonable solution to help you and keep just one data center location. Let's take our example. We're going to use EU-US privacy shields to enable us to use just our current data center and avoid the complexity of and the need to sync between data centers in real time. It's important discussion, and it's important for you to take it with the legal team. Let's understand how to analyze the situation, and how to analyze your system, your company situation, and tackle it. So we start with the first question. The first one is it temporary or here to stay? Do you see growing number of new sales in the pipeline? Is your team expected to double itself in next year according to the budget plan? Is going to Europe is just the first phase of expanding to other places in the world? If the answer is yes, then you experience a scale issue. The second one is what type of scale? Let's go back to the 3 T's and ask ourselves, is it traffic, team, territory, or maybe a combination of some of them? Now it's time for you to be honest with yourself and think really carefully. Do you find yourself things like, we can't do it, or our current infrastructure cannot support it? Well, as growing to be leading technical engineer, you should be able to communicate things to the business in the way that will make the discussion very productive. It's important to give this information to the business in the words that the business can understand and learn from you. In our case, it was obvious that going to Europe is a lot of work, but saying it is a lot of work doesn't help anyone. By doing very good deep gap analysis, we were able to say things like, our current payment system doesn't support payouts in Europe, and it's something that we need to solve. Or we can do everything in the same headcount if we can pay a little more to host our database in external service and save us hours of maintenance every month. You need to come and understand how to communicate to the business, how to map the challenges and the gaps and have this discussion. It's important for the business to understand what's the implication of the decision before taking the decision, and it also lets you impact the decision. And it also lets you learn which kind of compromise is valid in your company and which one is not. Plan and execute. So this is the time for plan. This is the time for action. I'm not going to say it's easy, and probably taking small steps is the right way to go. As always, technology is an enabler for the business, and your plan should reflect that. It should have all the scaling killer and only them. It might be the time to leave some of the industry best practices outside of the plan. For example, this monolith that your company started with might be still valid if that's not the crucial scaling point, and that might be possible to wait with that for a later phase. So before we wrap up, let's see some scaling in Lemonade. So Lemonade was established in order to bring revolution to an industry that wasn't changed for the last 100 years. We needed to be very fast and creative, and while doing that and having great product and innovative technology brought us to the concept of autonomous organization. So Shai Vininger, Lemonade's co-founder, wrote in his blog a few months ago, "We want to build a different kind of company, one with less people and more code, and that is driven by ultra-smart, carefully selected small group of humans." So let's see how taking DevOps concept into the organization help Lemonade create the autonomous organization and can help you tackle your company's scaling problem. So started with automation and internal tools. So one of the major DevOps concept is doing automation whenever you can, however you can. We took it from the production floor into the entire organization and introduced internal chatbot that's called Cooper. Cooper is responsible for the entire development life cycle. He's helping the finance team to fetch financial report, get any type of company statistics and more. Everything that is done more than once every few months will go there. The second one is monitoring and alert. So the company is data-driven at its core. Product managers will be able to test the effectiveness of their feature as soon as it's go to production. The senior management get daily reports and more. It's all open and public to everyone in the company, and people are creating alerts so they will be notified as soon as some metrics goes wrong. And the last thing is your automation index. So exactly the same as you can measure DevOps success by the time it saves to developers, or by the amount of deployment per day, or the quality, we have this cool metrics in Lemonade that is called automation index. It measures how many users policy per company employee we have. This is one of the company's goals, and we strive to improve it all the time. And as always, when you measure something, it gets improved. So working in fast-growing companies is a lot of fun. And you probably experience many technology challenges that makes your life very colorful. I hope this session helped you to understand not only how to scale your system, but also how to scale your career. Thank you very much.